You're going to grow and develop. You learn things faster than people who don't take risks. I mean, just think about that. Somebody who tries 10 new things by age 10, they're going to have learned a lot more in the attempts than a person who tried 5 things, or by age 20, however many things. The people who get out there and try more, they're going to learn more. They're going to have more failures, to be sure, but they're also going to learn a lot more, and from that learning have a lot more victories. Number 6, you're going to have a broader range of experiences. You're going to have so much experience, so many stories to draw from, and applications and ways to help people by the things that you've learned. Number 7, you learn to overcome obstacles sooner than those who won't stretch, thereby becoming more valuable and wiser than those who stay stuck. Those who stretch overcome that fear. They break through what we call the terror barrier. Anytime we have a new idea, it competes with our old existing paradigm, and the old paradigm says, no, don't do that. You might fail. You might crash. People might laugh, But for those who will strengthen that signal of trying the new and stepping forward into being stretched in growth, and they break through that terror barrier into freedom. They're no longer afraid. They'll take on anything that makes sense, that has a probable, that plays to their strength zone and their abilities, and has a probable, healthy, positive return. So now I want to talk about where we want to stretch. We don't want to just stretch in every area of life. Again, like we said, if everything's important, nothing is. So we have to identify those areas in which to stretch. Because most of us, we're really good at just a few things. We may have a lot of interest, but we want to focus in on those things that we're really good at. You may have heard of the Pareto principle or the 80-20 principle that says that 80% of our results come from 20% of our activities. Well, we want to identify what those activities are that get our best results and focus on those. So here's where we want to stretch. We want to stretch in the areas of our greatest giftedness and abilities. Now, the reason for that is very simple. We're going to get much more return, and we're going to be much more effective. We're not going to be so afraid in those. If we have an opportunity in an area of giftedness, we're going to be challenged. If we have an opportunity in an area of weakness, we're going to feel intimidated, right? Because we're no good at it. We're going to be frustrated. We're going to be down. We're going to wish we were doing something else. But when it's in those areas of giftedness and abilities, when we grow a little bit in an area that we're already good at, it gives us the ability to make a lot more difference in this world. We also want to, number 2, that was number 1. Number 2, we want to spend time spent in other areas, not our areas of giftedness and abilities, will be far less profitable and far less fulfilling. If your natural ability is like a 6 on a scale of 1 to 10, and you really work at it and you grow 2 points and you're up to an 8, now you're really good. You're making a big difference. If you're only a 2 to start with and you work equally as hard and you get up to a 4, you're still not very good. You're not making much difference. So, and it's going to be a lot more frustrating, a lot less joy-filled, and a lot less fulfilling along the way. Okay, number 3, we will be challenged to become all we can be, not intimidated and fearing failure. Again, that's when we play to those areas of giftedness and ability. We're going to be challenged to become all we can be, not intimidated and fearing failure, because we know that even if we fail, we're failing in the right direction, failing forward, as it's been called. And the only area that we want to spend time in that may not be a strength or an area we're good at is our attitude. It's our attitude. If we have a bad attitude, if we're weak in the area of attitude, we need to fix that, because it is going to sabotage every other area that we're good at that we grow in. You can be the best in the world, and if you have a bad attitude, you're going to bring down your team and everybody around you, and nobody's going to want to be around you. And here's the thing with attitudes. If I have a bad attitude, guess what? I chose it. I need to go away and work on it and choose another attitude and then come back and get back in the game. Attitudes are things that we choose. They are not things that are imposed on us by people or circumstances. We choose them. We choose the mindset. People have been through severe atrocities and chosen a good mindset and a good attitude and came out more than they ever could have been had they not had those experiences. I've mentioned that in some past shows. I won't go back into it again, but if you want to hear some of those stories, go back and look up the show that aired last week called Making the Most of Your Difficulties. Okay, so we're going to take a little break right now, and we're going to come back in just a minute, and I'm going to give some closing applications to this topic.
Jeff will be back shortly to wrap up today's message. This is Gabriela, still on the scene today with Talk Network Radio. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Empowered Living with Jeff Byrd. If you've missed any part of today's message, you can hear it again online, as well as the entire archive of Empowered Living at www.talknetworkradio.com or search keyword #Empowered Living. We would like to acknowledge our music partners, Sound Ideas for Corporate to the Max and Kevin MacLeod for Airport Lounge. Any scriptures read during this broadcast are from the New American Standard Version of the Holy Bible. If you would like to learn more about Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, visit www.jeffbyrdcoaching.com. That is JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Do a Facebook search for @CoachingRocks or drop Jeff a line at jeff@jeffbyrdcoaching.com. Again, JEFFBYRD coaching.com. Let Jeff's Coaching Rocks be the building blocks of your empowered success. Now, let's go back to Jeff for the rest of today's message.
And welcome back. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to this broadcast of Empowered Living. I'm Jeff Byrd with Jeffrey Byrd Coaching, and it is such a joy to be with you today, and I hope that you're learning as much as I'm learning in my life as I work through these very things that I share with you on a weekly basis and work to apply in my own life and to help build those around me with these truths and principles. So what we want to do is to wrap up today's broadcast with 4 applications on the law of the rubber band, how stretching is good for us. We never want to lose that tension between where we are and where we could be. And again, we remember that rubber band is only useful when it's stretched. A rubber band that's not stretched is really not good for much of anything. And so it is with us. When we're not being stretched, when we're not learning and growing, we're not really that useful. We're just doing the same old, same old. Probably everybody's heard what we do have unless we're growing and gaining more to share, becoming more. So here's the applications for today. Number 1, what areas are you most gifted in? I hope you'll take some time and think about that. And don't make a whole big list. I know there's a big list of wonderful things about you, but as far as the areas you're most gifted in, just limit it to 1 or 2. Okay, of the things you're most gifted in, what you love the most, what activities that when you engage in them, it brings the most benefit to others. Just name those top things, and what other people come to you and tell you, hey, you're really good at that. Those are going to be the areas that you're the most gifted in. So make that list, and then ask number 2, how could stretching in those areas benefit you and others? Again, this is something for reflection. I hope you'll take a pause and reflect on these application questions. Think about those areas you're most gifted in, and then ask yourself, how could stretching in those areas benefit both you and others? And just picture it. Don't put any barriers on this vision and on this imagination of, think how far that could go if you took those areas and developed them as far as you can see. What would that do for you and the people around you? How could that change the world? And again, spend some time thinking about that, imagining that, and try your best not to put any barriers on it. Think as far out as you can see what could possibly be. And just remember that everything that we have in the world around us, everything that exists because somebody had an unrejected idea. They had an idea of what could be, and they didn't give up on it. They followed it through till they created it. Think of the electricity around you and Thomas Edison with the light bulbs. Just think about all those people who didn't give up on that idea. They did not reject their idea. They followed it through, and then look at everything we have in the world today as a result of that. Yours could be the next one that makes a huge difference in the world, or at least in someone's life. Number 3, what is the next appropriate step to grow in the areas of your giftedness and ability? Just what's the next appropriate step? You're not going to take 100 steps at once. Nobody flies over to Mount Everest, takes 3 hops and gets to the summit. It's step by step, step by step. What's your next appropriate step? Maybe tuning into this podcast today was a next appropriate step for you. Maybe the next one, maybe there's a book that speaks to you. Maybe there's a teaching. Maybe there's a friend that's got experience in this area. Maybe there's a mentor you could bring on or a coach. I'd be happy to talk to you about that if you're interested. But what's the next appropriate step in your growth and in your development in those areas of your greatest strengths and abilities? And number 4, this is the last one. Who else is on the same path that you can grow with, learn from, and lead? We all need people on the path with us. Let me tell you, as an only child who had trust issues for many, many years, it is hard going alone. Now that I'm opening up and coming to understand these things somewhat and starting to reach out, I wish I'd have been doing it for the last 50 years, but now that I'm starting to do that, boy, life is so much better shared. It's like the old African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And we all benefit from having people on the same path with us, about the same place we are, that we can talk and have some companionship and share our growth journeys and good resources that we have. We need those people who are farther down the road ahead of us so that we can gain wisdom from their experiences and get wise counsel from them. And then we all need somebody who's behind us. We're all ahead of somebody. And we all need somebody who's a little bit behind us, who we can share with, who we can encourage, who we can lift up, who we can strengthen, who we can say, attaboy, keep at it, keep growing in those areas. I see your growth. I see the difference it's making. You're not the same person you used to be. I'm proud of you. Keep on, because you're doing good and you're making a difference and you're utilizing those God-given gifts and abilities to do something positive in the world around you. And just keep on keeping on. I'm right here with you and I'm not going anywhere. Well, thank you again so much for tuning in today. I hope that this has been an encouragement to you. Hope you've been blessed by this time, and I hope that you've gotten some rich food for thought that will help encourage you to take that next step. Again, you don't have to take the next 100 steps all at once. You just have to take one next step and then keep on stepping and keep on stepping. And before long, you won't even recognize the life you had or the person that you were because of the changes that have happened and the new doors of opportunities that have opened to you. Thank you so much. This is Jeff Byrd with Jeff Byrd Coaching, and this has been Empowered Living.